Hello, fiber friends. Welcome to another episode of the Knit, Knot, and Weave podcast. My name is Dorothy, and I am coming to you from Columbia, Maryland. This is my little corner of the YouTube where I document and share and discuss my fibery adventures with you all. Usually that will include knitting or crocheting. Occasionally there will be some spinning, yarn dyeing, and weaving, or whatever other crafty rabbit hole I tend to go down. And sometimes I tend to go down a lot, so you never know what to expect. But anywho, if this is something that is of interest to you, go ahead and grab a cup of something to wet your whistle. I have an afternoon cup of coffee in my little fuck off I'm weaving mug, because I'm going to be doing some weaving this evening. Grab a project to work on so that you can keep your hands busy, and then come and join me on the couch. Hello friends, welcome back. I know it has been a little while. It's been, I think, a month since my last podcast. It's nearing the end of the school year, and I know you guys are all saying, what are you talking about, Dorothy? It is only May, March, blah, 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 April. I know my months, really, I do. There are 3 more months of school left. Well, normally I would say yes, but at the high school level, I can speak today. It's been a rough week. At the high school level, students tend to feel that once they come back from spring break, that the school year is over. I don't know why they think that, but they do. So currently we are wrapping up SAT testing. So we're doing all the makeups from the days the kids did not come into school to take their tests. And then in April, we are going to be starting, well, later in April, we're going to be starting the state standardized tests. And then May sort of takes up the whole month with AP and IB testing. And then our seniors graduate, I think it's the last Friday in May, which is an early graduation for us. And then we've had, I've had some life things that have come up that have been, or life family things, I should say, that have come up that have kept me busy this month. And I will share all of those a little bit later. But for now, if you need to find me out on the interwebs anywhere else, I will put a list here of where you could find me. I am on Ravelry and Instagram and Blue Sky and Ko-Fi and a general email account. So I'm fairly easy to get a hold of if you need. Also, if I haven't said this before, if everything I talk about, I will link in the show notes down below. So if you click right under the title, there's probably something that says more, and that's where all the show notes will be. If you are a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back and watching, and I appreciate you so much. And if you are a new viewer, I'm so pleased that you found me and you're taking time to watch my little show. I really do appreciate that. So let's get started. First off, I will share with you what I am wearing. It is the woven cable headband. It is written by Priscilla Uloho, I think it is. It's a free pattern on Ravelry. It requires approximately half a skein of worsted weight wool, and I used wool that I dyed myself. And they're quick, they're easy. I've made a whole bunch of them last year and gave them out as gifts to some friends, and yeah, I keep making them. Another not a finished object, but something new I thought I'd share with you. My little guillotine earrings. I'll bring a little closer so you could see them. And I figure they were very appropriate for the resistance that is happening in the States right now. Vive la resistance. I have no idea if that's correct. French was not my language. And I have a new shirt on. I bought a couple of new Yarny shirts from, I think the store is called Yarnology? Yarn Merch? I don't know. It came across either my TikTok or my Instagram feed. I don't remember, but since I am very much into dragons, this one drew my attention. It says, just so we are clear, it's dragons on top of a yarn hoard. This yarn is mine. I can't read it backwards and upside down. Do not ask me what I need it for. That is not your concern, mortal. So I'm sure in the next couple of episodes, you'll probably see some of the others that I have purchased. Anyway, let's move on. Today, I have 2 finished objects to share with you. One is several of the same things. I have 5 works in progresses that I have made some progress on, and I will share those with you. And I think that makes 6 works in progresses that I'll be sharing. Just a few acquisitions and then life updates. So, first up, I have a bunch of dishcloths that I have made. I tended to be in a little bit of, I don't know, like I guess a thinking paralysis around this time of the year. My brain is constantly going and working with all of the testing and the things that are happening in school, that sometimes when I come home, I just need something simple, something mindless that I can just knit or crochet away on, that I don't have to think too much about. So I pulled out some of my dishcloth cotton, and I decided this time I would try knitting some dishcloths. And I think I reminded myself why I prefer to crochet dishcloths, because it's not as hard on my hands. But I went ahead and I did do some knitted ones. First up, I used one ball of Knit Picks dishcloth. Knit Picks Dishy dishcloth. So this pattern is, I think it's called the Copycat pattern. It is a free pattern on Ravelry. It's basically just some garter and stockinette stitches. Then I did one of my favorite patterns, which is the Chinese Waves pattern, which is also a free pattern on Ravelry. And this is made with Dishy. Then I pulled out, what's this one? Universal Cotton Supreme that I had already caked up. And I made, again, another Chinese Waves. And I'm sure you could see where I screwed up right there and did the same row twice. It's a dishcloth. What do I care? Then I used one of the diagonal patterns where you start at the bottom and you increase and then you decrease. I think some people call it grandma's dishcloth, but hers always has the yarn overs. I don't use the yarn overs in my dishcloths, so that's another. And then I went for a slightly larger one and I ran out. And so I took the little bit of leftover Dishy that I had to finish it off. And I don't know how I got this little hole here, but like I said, it's a dishcloth. Who cares? Then I pulled out a old skein of I Love This Cotton from the store that shall not be named. And I did another copycat. Probably should have been holding it in my other hand. I did another copycat pattern. I did another Chinese waves pattern. And I don't know why with this dishcloth, the waves don't sort of curve like they do in the others. I don't know if you can really see them. See how this has a really nice, like, wavy pattern? I feel like in this one, it's just gorgeous. Sort of just going straight across, but again, it's a dishcloth. It's got a little texture to it so that you could scrub dishes with. And then I started another copycat one, but I ran out, so I didn't get to repeat this section. And it's a little bit shorter, but again, it's a dishcloth. Then I grabbed another Universal Supreme, and I started a second one that was knit on the diagonal, and I did seed stitch for this one, so there's nice texture to scrub the dishes with. So that is what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 dishcloths this month. If you have been a long-time viewer, you know that I tend to just make a pile of dishcloths every year, trying to go through all the cotton yarn that I crazily purchased, and I put them out, or I pulled them the whole stack out around Christmas time for my family to devour. And they take whatever they want, and then the rest go in my drawers. Usually the ones that are, where'd it go? The ones that I use, like scraps, leftovers, if they're like a real mess, a real hodgepodge of colors, I just keep them for myself. Because I don't care what I wash my dishes with. If it works and it scrubs and it gets them clean, I'm happy. Right? Right. Next up, I finished a second tulip stitch blanket. I love this stitch. I don't know what it is. I feel like it just flies off my crochet hook. This was made with Stitch Studio by Nicole. It was AC Moore's brand of yarn. AC Moore closed shop many moons ago. So this was a deep dive stash. And I made it about 70 inches tall, I think. And then I put a nice border all the way around the edge. I did 2 rows of half double crochets, and then I did the crab stitch as the final row, which makes a nice little picot edge in crochet. And this is one of the softest acrylics I think I've ever used. It's just soft and squishy. It almost feels like wool, like maybe a wool acrylic blend. And that will go in the gift box. And maybe somebody will get it. Maybe I'll keep it for myself. Who knows? But I had lots of fun knitting this. If you are a crocheter, I would highly recommend trying out the tulip crochet stitch. And let me know if you like it as much as I do. I enjoy crocheting blankets. Crochet, although it eats up more yarn, it does go faster. But I have one blanket I need to make this year for my niece. My niece Maya has had her room redone, so she has different colors now, and it is a knitted blanket that I have chosen for her that's going to be in the blues of her room, along with a pop of a coral color. And I just found out last weekend that my older sister is requesting another blanket because she just redid her whole living room and now the color scheme is different. So we'll see. I don't know if I'm going to get 2 more blankets done by the end of the year. We'll see, because summer's coming around soon, and I don't tend to work on blankets in the summer unless they're in pieces. But I'm not really looking to make a pieced blanket this year. That is all I have for finished objects. We will be moving on to works in progress. So first up, in my Katydid bags, I believe it's a Katydid bag, I won this from Cinematic Skein podcast by Tammy, and I have in it my outline tee from Jessie Made Designs. Whew. For a minute I thought I forgot. And that is what it looks like. I am knitting it out of Tencel Go Handmade Tencel Bamboo Fine that I purchased from Hobby Yarns, or Hobby, or however you say it, HOBBII. Yeah, HOBBII.com. And it is a bit, where am I? It is a bit wrinkly, but this is the front of one side. I believe I was at where I just split for the front and the back last time I shared this. But this is going to be a lovely, very drapey, cool summer top. I'm looking forward to having this finished soon, but I'm not going to jinx myself and say it will be finished at the next episode, because who knows. I am using my Signature needles. Unfortunately, Signature has gone out of business. So sad. So I hope I don't break any more cords, because they used to replace them for free. This is a US 4 3.5 millimeter with the stiletto tips. That's the only reason why I got the Signatures. They feel nice, but I love their stiletto tips. Every pair I've purchased from them has stiletto tips. So hopefully this will be done soon. Next up, I picked up another whip, another long-standing whip. I would say it was probably bordering on UFO. It is in a bag that I sewed myself in all of my lovely Betty Boop. Boop, boop, be-doop, boop. I love Betty Boop. Oh my God, I have a funny story to share with you guys about Betty Boop. Back when I was in high school, I came home from school one day and we're eating dinner. We're on nightly family dinner. And my dad comes out with, "Hey, oh, Dorothy, somebody called for you today. Oh, your friend Betty called for you." And I'm sitting there and I'm like, Betty, I don't know a Betty. I don't have a Betty at my school. I said, "You sure it was Betty, Dad?" Yeah, Betty. And I'm like, I don't know a Betty. So as a joke, because my father is of that era and I would thought he would have known that, I said, "Who? Was it Betty Boop?" And my dad goes, yeah, that must have been it. Yeah, it was not Betty Boop. It was Deb. I don't know where he got Betty from Deborah, but that's how it came about. To this day, my father doesn't live that story down. Oh, so this is, let me see, where am I on my, I did not write this one down. Okay. Excuse me, I just need to pull up Ravelry real quick because I totally forgot the name of this pattern. Okay, this is called the Ancient Moss pattern. And who is the designer? Melissa Kemmer. This was actually a test knit I was doing for her back in 2023. Unfortunately, I ran out of a color. She has since updated the yardage that you need, and oh shoot, I am in the middle of a row. How did I manage to do that? Okay. Maybe I can just finish it off real quick while I talk to you guys, because it's going to be kind of difficult to show it to you if I'm in the middle of a row. I cannot believe I put this away in the middle of a row. So this was a test knit that I was doing in 2023. I had joined, oh, what is the name of that website? Yarn Pond, I think it's called. So I had done several test knits that year. And this shawl came up and I really, really liked the pattern for it. And the best part was I had yarn in my stash for it. I am using Malabrigo's Silky Merino, which is, I believe it's a 50-50 blend. Yes, 50% silk, 50% merino. I am using size 8, US 8, a 5.5 millimeter needle. It is knit on the bias, so it's an asymmetrical shawl. There are slip stitches in it, and I am almost nearing the end. So I will finish this and just speed through this section till I get to the end and then start again. So I am not looking forward to the weather that's coming up for next week. We are in the midst of April, and next week we're supposed to have highs of like barely 50 and lows of 20s. That is not spring weather to me. Followers in the more northern regions are, I'm sure, are saying, oh, boo-hoo to you. I know. I lived in Buffalo for a while. I know it's worse up there. Yes, I went to school at the University of Buffalo. I was there for 4 years. And while I was there, we had such a bad snowstorm one time that Sunday night, I heard, I looked out my dorm window and I saw the bobcats working and clearing off all the walkways and stuff. So I thought, okay, well, I guess there will be school tomorrow. And I went to bed early so that I could get up on time. And I woke up and I went to the bathroom that was on our dorm hall, and there was a big sign on it that says, the university is closed. I was like, woohoo, and went right back to bed. And I'll never forget when I looked at the paper the next day, the major headline, and I wish I had kept that paper. The major headline was, the University of Buffalo closed for the first time in 16 years. I don't know why I didn't think of it. Looking out my window, I saw that the bobcats were working. They were clearing the walkways, and I didn't even have a thought for all the people that live off campus, or the professors that live off campus and have to drive to work, and how the road conditions were. Anyhow, So I finished my row. Now I've got yarn at each end. But this is the Ancient Moss Shawl. And it's a 3-color shawl. So I had 3 colors in my stash. I had this blue, which was called Deep. This, I know you're not going to be able to see it very well, but there's like a silvery green sage color. And then the other colorway is called Calligraphy, which is like a very, very light, palish pink gray. And so I am down to the last few rows. I have these little nuggets left, and I'm probably just going to continue in that pattern until I have enough to just bind off. And then this will finally be finished. So that will be another whip, long-standing whip off my needles. I think this is going to drape beautifully, considering it is 50% silk. It feels like a dream. The silk gives the colors a very beautiful shine to it. I did try and purchase another Deep from someone on Ravelry. And I know I probably wasn't going to get close to the same way it dyed this time. I dye yarn. I understand different batches and stuff. But this one looks more like I don't know, like a royally cobalt blue. And this is how the other, I mean, it looks like 2 completely different color blues. So I ixnayed that one and just decided to finish up in the sage and the calligraphy colorway. So I think I have maybe 2 more rows of each color left in that ball. We'll see. And then I will be able to block it and wear it, which I'm really looking forward to. I don't know why I didn't think of this earlier. I should have just, when that other blue came in, I don't even know where it went now. When that other blue came in, I should have just finished it the way I am. But anywho, moving on. So next up is my mom's Kuutar shirt, sweater, tee, whatever you want to call it. It is still in its Christmas bag. I'm not one of those people that, counts down to Christmas, but it was in here and I didn't feel like changing it out. This is a bag by Awesome Granny. It's either her large or her extra large, but it's definitely a sweater bag. So the first time my mom tried it on was at Christmas, and the top fit her perfectly. It was great. I finished this, but I didn't bind it off because I was going home. When was I going home? I went home the weekend of March 10th because it was the closing night of my niece's play, and it was my youngest niece's birthday weekend. And I had her try it on, and unfortunately it was a bit snug around her hips, and it hit her in just a little too high for the way it was. But I finished up the sleeves, and the sleeves fit her perfectly. They're the perfect length. So I took it home, and she was like, "Oh," she's like, "Dorothy, you don't need to take it off." My mother was a knitter and a crocheter. Well, she knows how to do both. It was never really her thing. Her mom, my nonna, is the one that taught me, and she's the one that crocheted up until the day she died. But she did a lot of the thread crochet, which I did do a coffee talk on a while back. So I took this back about 5 inches, and I did increases every, what did I do? What does it look like? Looks like I did 5 increases every 6th row to add an extra 20 stitches. And then again, I did the short rows because my mom wanted the little curve at the back and the front. Except I noticed this time, I don't know if this didn't happen the first time or I just didn't notice it the first time. But when you do short rows like this, so, you go all the way to one end, or I went all the way to the end, one before the side stitches. So I have 2 side stitch markers. So I went to one before, did a German short row, went back, did one before, German short row, and then I believe I did every 5. So, you go back and forth until you get to whatever number you've decided on or you think it's round enough. And then you go back across and you knit them all up. Except when you're going back to knitting, shoot, I wonder if that's what I should have done. Now I can't remember. So my first one, I knit all the way across, did a German short row, and then purled all the way back. Short row, knit. So I did an even amount of short rows, which means my last round I would have knit all the way back to the stitch marker. And then at the stitch marker, I would have turned and done the short rows along the back side, which means I did not knit the German short rows that were on this side because they were from the purl side. So when I finally finished and did a row all the way around before I started my ribbing, the stitches that were on the purl side picked up and made like, I don't know if you could see that. It almost looks like it's a hole, like a little mini hole or a little bump. You can see those bumps. But on the right side, I don't have that same look. I know, maybe I'm nitpicking, maybe this does this, no matter what you do. If you know of any way to fix that, please let me know. I didn't notice it the first time I got this far and had her try it on. So I'm a little annoyed by it, but I don't know how else to fix it. Because let me see, I'm going to try and talk it out with you guys. If I did my last short row on the purl side, and then I would have flipped it and I would have knit all the way to the stitch marker, I would have had to have turned it and purled all the way back to the stitch marker. I wonder if that would have made a difference if I picked up these German short rows purl-wise, since they were created purl-wise. Maybe I'll try and do a little test swatch and do it and see if that makes it any different. But anywho, once so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a little test swatch and see if picking them all up on the purl side makes that bump go away. And if it does, that means I will have to rip back all this ribbing. Well, it's not a lot of ribbing. It's only about I think probably about an inch right now. And do that, and then do the ribbing again, and then bind it off and block it. And it'll be finished. So I will be very happy when this is finished and off my needles. I'm getting a little tired of constantly knitting it. I know, I shouldn't be. It was a gift from my mom. It is well deserved. She certainly deserves handmade things because she understands and appreciates them. That's the one thing I do love about my family, and not just my immediate family, but my mother's whole side of the family, because my grandmother did it, so they've gotten stuff like this all their lives. So they're all very appreciative. I just want to knit things for me now, though. So anywho, this, God willing, will be done by the next episode. And hopefully it will also be blocked. So that was whip number 3. And then whip number 4 is, yes, it is the Grim Grinning Ghost. It is on Ravelry. Susan Caldino is the designer, and it is a $8 pattern. I am using a Lion Brand glow-in-the-dark yarn. And there's hair on it. And I picked the blue. I am at the point where I need to put in the safety eyes before I can go any further and stuff it. Unfortunately, I am in the process of redoing my craft room, and I believe all of my safety eyes are packed in a box. So until I unpack them, this is going to have to go back in the whip pile. I am using, actually I can't remember if these are Hiya Flyers in size, and I didn't put it on my project page. Bad me. Question is, am I going to be able to read it? Etching on silver is not good for the aging eyes. .25mm. I can't believe I read that. So that's what, a US 3. And I know I totally screwed up because I am using worsted weight yarn. And this, I believe, should have been made with US 5s. But since I had already started, I wasn't going to pull it out. It would just be a tighter ghost. This is the bottom. And the eyes go, which is very nice in the pattern. They have you put a pearl bump where the safety eye is supposed to go. And why am I not seeing that pearl bump? Oh, because it's further down. So right there is where the safety eyes are supposed to go. And I went as far up as I could go. Right now we're going to start decreasing, and I don't want to decrease too much. Otherwise I won't be able to get my hands in to put the safety eyes in. So this is on hold and probably will not get done by my next podcast because I have to find the safety eyes. But it'll be done in time for Halloween this year. It was supposed to be done in time for Halloween last year, but that didn't happen. Next up is I am working on yet another dishcloth. I am just working my way through my dishcloth stash, and this is Universal yarn Cotton Supreme. It is, I believe it is 100% cotton. This colorway is Ocean View, and it's not saying, yes, 100% cotton. It's a worsted weight. I am using my signature needles, 3.75mm US 5s. These are 10-inch needles. I think I have 10-inch in 5 and 6. And so this one, I'm just doing a simple double moss stitch so that there is some texture on it to scrub, scrub, scrub. And then I will probably go until Well, I'm going to try and make it square, but if there's just a little bit left, I may just continue on until I finish this cotton or this skein. I think this was purchased when one of our local yarn shops went out of business, All About Yarn, a number of years ago. And even though I have, excuse me, a ton of dishcloth cotton from Knit Picks and Peaches and Cream, this felt a little softer, and it actually is a little easier on my hands to knit with. So that was a good choice. Hopefully it will be a good choice for a dishcloth. Last up, I've made some additions to my Jellyroll blanket. Last time I shared this with you guys, I was right here where this progress keeper is. So I had finished with that pinky orange red, and I added this row so far. And then I believe I also shared that when I was on my girls' weekend and I managed to lay it out flat on the floor, it was a little short. I tend to like my blankets that I'm knitting for me or my family to be a little bit longer and extra long and extra wide, because sometimes when we are curled up on the couch, it's long enough so that two people can be snuggling under it. So I was originally had stopped where this little light section is here. I managed to go back through my scraps and find some of the original colors that I had cut off when I had reached that mark, and was able to extend them so that I still managed to keep that staggered look on this. So I have managed to add, what did I say it was? I think it was 5 or 7 inches. And I don't have a tape measure up here, do I? No. So I believe I added about another 5, it was either 5 or 7 inches all the way across, so that we are all evened up now. And then as I continue to add on columns, I will add them on up to here. This is all on waste yarn. Not waste yarn, it's on barber cords. And I hear that next week is going to be a chilly week here in Maryland again. I think our highs are supposed to be a whopping 50s, and our lows are going to be in the mid-20s at night. So it might just be chilly enough for me to do a little bit more on my Jellyroll. And I'm halfway widthwise on this Jellyroll blanket, because all of my columns are 4, so it's 4, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So currently it is 36 inches across, and I think I'm just a little bit more than halfway, because I'm thinking I might do, let me see, 36, 40. Maybe 3 or 4 more columns. Once I finish this one, I think I'll have 3 or 4 more columns to add. And then I will do a applied I-cord all the way around. Not sure if I'm going to do it in a solid color. I'm going to see if I have a good amount of either a black, gray, what else could I edge it in? Black, gray, navy, or dark purple. I'm hoping I have enough in a little mini skein or enough of a leftover cake so that I don't have to break out a new hank just to do the I-cord bind off. And that is all I have for whips. So I guess we could move on to acquisitions. Like I said, in my acquisitions, I don't have much. I did buy 2 little yarn kits. Of course, after I purchased them, I realized I probably had a shit ton of minis that I could have already used, but I didn't think about it at the time, and I liked the colors that I was seeing, and so I bought them. They are kits from Fiber Nymph Dye Works for the the Gnome Along that is by Imagine Landscapes. I had to think there for a minute. So here is one colorway for it is called Cordinarius. So it's a violet blue, a cream. I think it's a dark gray and a light gray. And then the second one is called Amanita, which is a red, a cream, a walnut brown, and then like a cognac brown. And these are from Fiber Nymph Dye Works. So they are a 20-gram mini that is 80 yards. So it's a total of 320 yards. It is an 80/20 superwash merino nylon base. So I need to get started and do my Gnome Along. And that is all I have for yarn acquisitions. I did purchase a new book because I am hoping that when I finish my craft room and have it all set up the way I want to, that I can dress my floor loom and make some hand towels again. So this is Weaving Hand Towels Simply, 43 Designs for 4 and 8 Shaft Looms by Susan Kessler Simpson. And I have a I always forget how they name them. I think the Baby Wolf is the narrowest. The Wolf Pup, I'm pretty sure the Wolf Pup is what I have, which is I think 26 inches wide. And then there is the Wolf Loom, which is the bigger one, and I do not have that. But I do have an 8 shaft. So I thought this would get me back into using my floor loom. I have a ton of thread cotton that I purchased from Webb's a number of years ago when they were having one of their sales, and I went a little cuckoo. And so I'm looking forward to getting back into that weaving. And then I saw these project journals on Amazon when I was picking up that book. And I thought, why not? So this one is Yarn Spinning Project Log. They were from, I hope it says here who designed them. Yes, Inker Leaf Press. So I thought this would be a neat one to start documenting all my yarn spinning. I do have a completely different book to document the, what am I thinking of? The breed study that I'm supposed to be doing. Again, I'm waiting to get my craft room all appropriately done, and then I could start that because I need room for that. But it gives you notes at the beginning. And let's see what else. So there's a yearly planner if you want to plan out what you want to spin. And I guess that would be good if you have a whole lot of maybe sweater quantities or a fleece in your stash. Then there's an index where you can document and index what you have. And then there's one page for your spinning project. And what I liked about this is you could put in the dates that you worked on this spinning, or you could track the number of hours that you spent spinning this. So there's a project name, what tool you use. So whether you want, if you have several different spinning wheels, you could put in the name of the spinning wheel. And if you spun it for a particular purpose, and later on you could add what you made with it. But it asks you for if it's from a farm, the farm or the brand, the breed or the blend, the colors that it's in, the staple length, the microns, if it labels what the microns are, the source that it's from, the price that you paid for it, and then the prep of it, whether it was a roving, a comb top, or a bat. It asks for dyeing information. I guess if you dye it on your own, you could add that, and any other fiber notes. Then it will, the next box asks you for the spinning process, whether you spun your singles S or Z, the drafting method that you used, the wheel or the spindle settings, what plying technique you used, and any spinning notes that you would like to document or jot down. And then there's the third box is where you could put all of your finished project information. So how many plies it was, what the weight was, what the total length is, the total diameter. I'm not sure why they would have that when they have whips per inch later on. Then they have TPI, twists per inch, which I guess you could document that as well. And then YPP. Is that yards per pound, I think? And then depending upon if you're doing all one project, I don't know why it would have this. It's got skein 1, skein 2, skein 3 across the bottom. Oh, I know, squirrel. Let me talk about that later. I don't know, the bottom one where it says projects, it has, skein 1, 2, and 3, but it's asking you for that same information all the way across. And I'm thinking if you were attempting to make several skeins with that fleece or half a pound or pound of roving or top that you bought, why would you have different plies and weights and wraps per inch if it was all going to be worked into the same project? I would think you would try to do the same for it all. I don't know. Maybe I'll learn about it in some spinning night at my local yarn shop, or maybe at one of the classes that I'm going to take at Sheep and Wool. And then there's additional info and comments down at the bottom. And that is basically how the rest of this whole book goes. They do have a fiber inventory in the back where you could list everything that you used. And then the very last column is if it's used up, you could just check it off. And so I thought that would help me on my spinning journey. And then, like I said, I'm hoping to really get back into weaving again, especially on the floor loom. And so I picked up a weaving project journal, and they are all by the same company. They have several different designs or cover designs. I picked 2 different ones so that I would easily know which one I am grabbing. Had I known that one is bigger than the other, I may have gone for the same cover just to but I don't know. I like them. I like the leaves and I like the flowers, so I'm happy. And I like this one. This one on the back says, keep calm and weave on. But so this one is a weaving journal. And again, it's from Inker Leaf Press. It's on Amazon. I think they were $6 or $7.99 each. I will put a link for them down in the description box. I like this weaving one. There's a conversion table, and then there are weaving equations so that you can figure out how much yarn you need. I actually have a Google sheet that I created a number of years ago for my rigid heddle looms. I don't know. Well, I guess it would work the same way for my floor loom. It's been a long time since I've done anything on my floor loom. But basically, you know, allow for draw in, allow for take up if you're adding fringe and whatnot. Then there is a section for notes if you want. Again, another yearly planner for your weaving, and then an index so that you can write down the page that your project was on, so that if you need to go back and reference it for something, you know which page to go to. Of course, they say that, and yet they don't have the pages numbered. Huh. Is that the same on the yarn? On the spinning? Yep. So I guess you got to go in and number the pages yourself. Oh, well. And then this one is a 2-page spread. You have all of your weaving information here. And if you are designing it yourself, which most weavers tend to do, you can draw out and do a diagram of what you want to weave over here. But again, for the weaving project, it has start and finish, the name of the project, the items per warp. So if you're warping up 1, 2, or 3 dishcloths, or 1 or 2 scarves, depending upon, you know, the size of your loom and what it can handle for warp. The pattern, if you're using it, the finished size that you are looking for, what source the pattern is from. If it's from a source, and personal for whether I guess you personalized it for someone. It talks about setting up the loom, the reed, the shuttle, the shed sticks, or the number of shafts, the heddles per shaft you're using. So if you're doing a rigid heddle, it could be 1 or 2, or if you are extremely adventurous, you could do 3 and 4 shafts on a rigid heddle. I'm told. I am not that adventurous. I'm not even adventurous enough to try 2, but I might at some point try 2 on a rigid heddle, just to see if it is easy or difficult. Then there are specs, the wraps per inch, the ends per inch, the picks per inch, the total warp length that you did, the total number of ends, the width in the reed, the ends per dent, and if you have anything for the selvage. Then it asks for measurements, length and width while it's on the loom, once you take it off the loom. And then you can do the percentage of take up from on and off the loom. And then after finishing it, so after you wet finish it, and what the percentage of shrinkage was. So you'll know if you're using all one kind of yarn, or all one kind of, I don't know, type of yarn. Like if it's all merino, not necessarily one base, or if it's all cotton, you'll be able to figure out for future projects what the shrinkage and the percentage would be. Then you could put in all the yarn details, the brand, the color, the fiber, the size. I'm guessing they mean weight. Well, I guess size would be dependent on if you were using a floor loom, because cotton and linen and silks and even wools are weighed very differently. There's always a number, like an 8-2 cotton, which I believe, and I always forget this one. One of them is for the number of plies, and I always forget what the second number is for. But I am sure in my weaving book it will tell me. And so size, the yardage that you use, the cost of it, and the notes. Then down at the bottom, you can talk about, you could have notes about the techniques that you used, any notes on the type of hem or the fringe or the embellishments that you used, and then finished miscellaneous stuff. And then, of course, over here, if you don't pre-design it, you could always take a picture and post a picture, tape a picture of the final project in here. If you have one of those little instant photo things, you could always print out the picture on as a sticker and stick it in here, and then write and document any other notes that you want in there. And so I think there's enough in here for, I know this is going to be horrible, I think there are 96 pages in here, front and back, so you could do 96 spinning projects, because the spinning projects are one page a project. So half of 96 is what? 2, 4, 16, 8, 48. So you should be able to do 48 weaving projects in here, because there's 2 pages to a project. And then at the end, it also has a yarn inventory, which I probably could use for the weaving cones that I had. I would not use it for my knitting yarn, because that's all, or most of it's up on Ravelry. And then at the end, there is resources and essentials that you might want to make a list of, any books, websites, groups, suppliers. Down at the bottom, I guess you could do a supply inventory of the number of shettles or shed sticks that you have, or boats you have, if you have a floor loom that you use boats with, and whatnot. So I am hoping to get better in documenting my spinning and my weaving for in the future. And that would be, if I document it, it'll be easier for me to share it with you all. I think I need a drink, because my throat is dry and sore now. Darn, and my coffee got a little chilly. I forgot to put it on the coffee warmer. So, what is up next? I guess I can talk about life updates next. So like I said, I went up to New York the second weekend of March. Don't mind the messy hair. This is why I have the headband on. So I went up to New York at the second weekend of March. It was closing weekend of the play that my nieces were both in. They did Music Man this year. So even though Priya is in elementary school, she got to be one of the little kids in the play. And she actually got to be the mayor's daughter. So she actually had some speaking lines. And there were 2 girls that were picked for her spot, because the young ones are not, I think I don't know if it's federal law or New York law, they're not supposed to be up late certain hours. So there's some laws regarding children in plays and stuff. And I believe that extends to Broadway shows as well. So, so there were two girls that played, the part of the mayor's daughter. There were 2 boys that played the part of a young boy that's in the show. And the boy that plays the same nights as Maya was, oh my God, absolutely adorable, and just such a cutie patootie. And my older niece, Maya, who is the one of the dance captains for the play, she is a junior this year. She's been in the play every year so far, and senior year she'll be in it too. She absolutely loves it. It is another outlet for her because she's a very high-strung teenager. Sad as it is, she has anxiety issues, but she knows herself and she knows that she needs outlets for it. So she does field hockey all year round. She's on the team for the school, and she's in a club team, and she does the play. So those are her two outlets during the school year. And so they were both in it. They were both in the closing show. So I went up to surprise them. My sister knew that I was coming, obviously, but we didn't tell the girls, so I got to surprise them on closing night, and they had a blast. It was a very, very well done production. My brother-in-law helps out with all of the set work. He is really, really good with the kids. Eric does, when he took over set making, he does, I think my sister says, 2 or 3 days of just safety protocols, how to use certain tools safely, how to abide by OSHA standard safety, because he lets the kids really do all of the building and stuff. But he is adamant that the first time he sees anyone doing anything unsafely, that's it. They're gone. They're not allowed on that machine anymore. They're not allowed on the ladders anymore. Whatever it is that he sees that they are doing unsafely, that's it. They don't get to do it again. And he has built up so much respect from these kids because he allows them to do most of the building, that they want to be able to do this, to gain that experience, to really have the hands-on of it. But because he is very strict, has standards, and does these safety measures, they appreciate him so much that on closing night, what my niece's school does on closing nights, or I should say every night of the play, is the seniors that are in the play get to make a little speech right before the performance, and they do a couple of seniors each time because there are too many seniors, or it would take too long to do all of them on closing night. But on closing night, one of the seniors that was speaking wanted to thank my brother-in-law, so they ask certain adults. Normally, these speeches are just for the cast members and sort of like a handing off the baton. Like if they're a senior dance captain, they want to, hand it off to whoever the junior dance captain is that's going to be, taking their position and stuff like that. So it tends to be just for the kids, but occasionally they do call down the choreographer, whoever did all of the choreography dancing. Occasionally they will bring down the choral director, or the total director for the play, or the orchestra, the head orchestra person. I can't even think of what their name is right now. But one of the students asked Eric to make sure that he was down there because they wanted to thank him. And my niece actually recorded the speech that this person did, and it was so cute, she had to hand off her phone halfway in the speech for somebody else to finish recording it because she was crying and her hands were shaking so much and she was so affected by the speech. And yes, of course, it brought my brother-in-law to tears as well. And it brought us to tears when we were listening to it, watching the recording, me and my sister. So I thought it was a very, very nice tradition. I don't know if this is done across the board. I don't even know if it's done at my high school, which is sad, but I was very moved by it, and I thought it was a great, great way to open up the shows by having the seniors do these little speeches and stuff. It was also my youngest niece's 10th birthday that weekend. So we got to celebrate that a little. She had had her birthday celebration prior to and whatnots. I did go to the last Friday of every month from September to May. My local yarn shop has a spinning night. And so my friend Melissa and I went to that. We met up with a couple of folks from our knitting groups that also spin, and that's always a lot of fun. And that's a great way to meet new people and to get spinning help when you don't know what you're doing, or you're trying something new and you want. It's also a place where people can ooh and ah over fibers that somebody else might be spinning. Then we had my niece's bridal shower. So as I've shared in the past, my oldest niece is getting married this year. Her wedding is going to be on Saturday, June, it's either the 21st or the 22nd. I can't remember which one it is. So we have a lot of wedding stuff that we have been doing lately, and a lot of stuff to prep. So those are the two big family things that we've had going on. I have been diligently working in my craft room when I can, on weekends, and any nights that I come home that I'm not totally exhausted from work and then my workout. But I'm pleased to say that I have all the cabinets up on the wall. They are attached to the walls. All the doors are on. I will insert a picture here. Next stop is to give a good cleaning to the carpet again. Not a cleaning, a good vacuuming, because of all the drilling that I had to do. Want to get rid of all that dust. And then to bring up the yarn and start organizing it, which I will be filming some of it so that I could share the craft room reorganization, or as I like to call it, my yarntuary. Some people have a sanctuary. I have a yarntuary, which is my sanctuary. And I found these pins on, yes, I'm on TikTok. This one has the whole LGBTQIA plus flag on it. And it says safe person, so that my kids know I am a safe person. My students know that I am a safe person to talk to and for whatever, be, if they need someone to talk to, if they need someone to confide in or whatever, that I am totally okay with their lifestyle that they are choosing, with whatever their sexuality is. I am an okay person, and I do my best to respond. I do my best to remember when they go by different names, because I don't see them every day like a classroom teacher does, to know that. I am really, really good with remembering faces. I am not so good sometimes with remembering names, especially when kids decide to call themselves a different name after I just finished learning their name the first time. So I do have one individual. I do not know if she identifies as a she, her, or a they, them. I'm pretty sure it's one of those two. I do not believe that they identify as a he, him. But I have known her for 3 years now as Jax. And I use her only because she looks like a female. Like I said, I don't know which way she identifies. And, I don't know, you'll have to excuse me, I'm having a hot flash. I hate when this happens. I think I will be going to pause you guys and I will be right back. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. That was a bad one. Anyway, where was I? So the craft room, the cabinets are up. They are attached to the wall. The doors are on. Now I just need to bring up the yarn and start organizing. Then I got a call from my sister this morning. It is tough having elderly parents. So apparently, somehow, some way, my father fell sometime between Thursday night when he went to bed at 11 o'clock and 7 o'clock Friday morning. We don't know when, we don't know how. He doesn't remember. And so my mom, they are in Florida right now. They are Florida bunnies for the winter. And he fell at some point. I don't know. My mother doesn't know when. And he has to go he's in the hospital, but they are trying to schedule an emergency hip replacement, apparently. He, if I am remembering this correctly, he fractured his hip or his pelvic bone, and he did something to the femur ball. I don't know. So they are trying to schedule him for surgery. I'm guessing it's almost 5:30 tonight. I'm guessing it's probably not going to get done tonight, but first thing, maybe tomorrow morning. I'm a little bit nervous because I don't think Florida has the best medical, I don't even know how to say it. I don't think Florida is the best in regards to medical procedures and medicine. I am worried because my father is 84 this year, 41, 84. This is his first major surgery. And although, I don't know why I said although, he is the only sibling in his family that has not undergone any major surgery, that has not gone under any major heart surgery too. So I'm concerned for that. So if you pray to any God, please send a shout out and ask them to watch over my father for his first surgery. On a lighter note, tomorrow is the Maryland, or I don't know who is hosting it, but apparently tomorrow is the first crank-in that is happening in Maryland that we know about, and I learned about it from Aquila from the Lefty Knitter podcast. I purchased a Erlbacher Speedster sock machine a while ago, and I received it a couple of months ago, but I've been busy and I haven't been able to really play with it or take it out of the box, and I thought this was the perfect opportunity because nobody in my knitting group has one. Nobody in my knitting group knows how to use one. And Aquila was going to be at the crank-in, so I thought this was the best time for me to get it out of the box and learn how to use it when other people who use knitting machines are there to help me. So I'm looking forward to that tomorrow. And then tomorrow night me and my friends are getting together for two of our friends' birthday celebrations. One birthday was yesterday, one was today, one is tomorrow. So we are getting together tomorrow night and having a birthday dinner celebration. And that is about caught you guys up with what's been happening in my life this month. If you are looking for something interesting and quirky to watch, I'm not a big TV person myself, but I was looking for something one night and I came across, it's a little mini series. I think it was maybe 7 or 8 episodes. It's on Netflix and it is called The Residence. It is a quirky kind of whodunit, Clue style mystery show. The the main usher of the White House is murdered, and they call in the DC Metro Police calls in this world known detective that manages to figure things out. And the detective's name is Cordelia Cupo, and it's played by Uza Abuba. I hope I didn't butcher that name. So she does some consulting for the Metro PD, and she really thinks things out, but it's very Inspector Clouseau style. And she is a big bird watcher, and she sort of relates everything to particular birds. So if you want something quirky and funny to watch, I highly suggest that. As for books that I have read, I read the third installment, Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros. That is the whole story of Violet, Sorndale, and Xander. I read When the Moon Hatched by Sarah Parker. It's the first book in a series. The second book is not out yet, and that frustrates me. I usually try and wait till there are a few books out so that I can read them back to back to back. I thought this was a standalone book, but there is a character in it who is kind of like an assassin, and I think there is some memory loss or somebody used magic on her or something, because she doesn't remember her past life. When she meets up with someone who she was in love with, and he calls her Moonbeam, and she is slowly starting to get flashbacks of her previous life, but she's not sure if she believes it quite yet. And then I read a classic, We Have Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson. It is kind of like a glimpse into a psychopath, but a psychopath who loves someone and how the family dynamics work around it. Next up is The Frozen River by Ariel Lawhorn. Trigger warnings. There is mention of rape. This was set back in I think it was 1760 or something like that. But it was a takeoff. The author had seen an article. This author normally writes historical fiction, but this one it's historical context, but it's not true events were not taken and used in this book. But it's about a woman. The article that she found that she sort of based this narrative on was an article written about oh my God, why can't I think of that profession? Midwife. Holy cow. She is a midwife, and apparently she had birthed, I think the article said something like over 1,000 babies, and never lost a mother. And she said, I don't think there's a doctor today that can make that same claim. Yes, they have lost babies because we all know that there are stillborns and things like that. And that happened back then as well. There's no rhyme or reason to it sometimes. But she never lost a mother when she was helping them birth. So the story is sort of based around this woman who is a midwife, and a very progressively thinking midwife, I must say. And if any of the historical context of it is from that time period, it's very enlightening to learn how things were not all that different from how they are today. Sad, but true. Anyway, it was a very good read. I highly recommend that one. Then I read The Never Tilting World by Rin Chupeco. It's another fantasy style. There are twins. They were separated at birth. It's a magical fantasy world. The twins were separated at birth. They didn't know about each other. And then they both have to go on this quest to try and save their world. And they wind up meeting. And I am now into the second book, which is The Ever Cruel Kingdom. I think that's right. Ever Cruel Kingdom. Anyway, I just started the second book on that. And then there is Sworn to Silence by Linda Castillo. Again, trigger warning. There is an almost rape in this book. But it is set in a small town community, and the chief is a female. And the reason they chose her was because this community also has an Amish community nearby. And she used to be Amish. So she has a way with the local town folks, and she can speak with the Amish because she knows their backgrounds and stuff like that. And so it's a very, very interesting read. You learn that, the Amish being Amish or being of any, as we all know, religion doesn't exclude everybody from being a psychopath or a rapist or whatnot. So, and let me see, the last book I finished was I think it's the third book in the Emily Wilde's. So this one is Emily Wilde's Compendium of Lost Tales by Heather Fawcett. And it is, like I said, it's the third book in the series. It is a fae fantasy book. Emily is a professor who studies dryology, which apparently dryology is the study of fae and fae folk and fae everything. Like, it's not a hidden secret. Everybody knows about them. They study them. There are portals that can take you into the fae world, and you learn about them in the first two books. And in this book is really concentrated on how stories sort of guide what happens in the fae realms. So it was a very different take. I enjoyed it a lot. I did listen to that one on audio, and I like to listen to the whole series on audio. So that is all the reading that I have done this month. And I think that is all I have for you guys. If you have enjoyed this episode, please be sure to give it a thumbs up, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and ring that bell so that you can be notified when I put up my next episodes. On that note, I will wish you a good night. Send a little prayer up for my dad tomorrow. I'm going to be a nervous wreck, so I'm probably not going to sleep well tonight. And thank you so much for joining me today. I so appreciate you guys staying till the very end. If you managed to stick around for this long, just put a little smiley face in the comments so that I know that folks have gotten to the end of this video. On that note, I will wish you a fabulous weekend. I hope you are crafting to your heart's desire. And I will see you most definitely in 2 weeks. Ciao, ciao, guys. I love y'all.